Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. Very good afternoon to you around the country, and good morning to you on our West Coast, and to you that are listening on Channel 126, the Urban View Sirius XM, Channel 126, the Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. And for the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation, calling us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Well, a lot is going on. And, you know, one of the things that I believe is Steve Bannon, the right-wing strategist for Trump, part of his advice always was flood the zone, meaning throw so much at people till they get dizzy and despondent and won't really organize to do anything because there's so much coming at them. And a lot of people have just given up. You know, oh man, this Trump is in power and he's doing everything he want to do. No, Trump is doing everything we let him do. And we can't roll over because he's just throwing all this stuff at us. He's throwing the egg against the wall to see what sticks. Like right now, he's in a fight now to consolidate power over the courts. He's going to tell the courts what they can and cannot do. Talking about a judge, because the judge took a decision that he didn't like in terms of the so-called Venezuelan gang members that he said were violent gang members, that they have no record here, no record there. Just going all but call the judge out his name, to where even the Chief Justice had to come on and say, wait a minute, y'all can't impeach judges. Then he's got the day calling for the dismantling of the Department of Education and say, let the states handle it, education. Well, the last time the states handled it, we ended up being zoned into segregated areas. And we ended up with curriculums that didn't include us. And we got Trump running around with Elon Musk talking about cutting this and that out of the budget. And it was interesting to me as we organizing toward our National Action Network convention. What's interesting to me is that every town hall that the Republicans have, Republican members of Congress, hundreds are coming out and booing, heckling, showing their displeasure. And nobody is getting more negative feedback, policy, decisions than the black community. And we sitting around talking about, man, there's just too much going on. These people are jamming these Republican congressmen's town hall, jumping all over them. And where are we? Silence is consent. That's why I get up every day fighting. I get up ready because I'm not going to let them take back what is ours. And we gained it through struggle, bloodshed, death. I get up every morning ready to roll, ready to fight. I beat up the pillar. I'm ready. And all of you that done roll over because you lost one election, now you're going to lose your whole achievement as a race? I mean, I just don't understand that. People say, Remal, you on radio every day, you on TV. I did Morning Joy Hour this morning. Do your TV show. You always out there. Yeah, because I got something to say. And you should have something to say too. Because silence is consent. If they doing all this to us, took down Jackie Robinson on the Department of Defense website, and until some of us raised saying they didn't answer it, took down the website of Charles Rogers, who was a Medal of Honor winner from Vietnam, took down all the blacks in Arlington National Cemetery, just took it down. We don't need it. It represents diversity. And then some of us had to come out. Come on. People died or risked their lives for this country, and you going to list everybody else? It wasn't like they took the list down of soldiers that died. They only omitted the black ones. It wasn't that they just didn't list those that didn't die but served honorably. Just Jackie Robinson and them. Well, no. Jackie Robinson, that's about race. Yeah, it's about race because y'all made it racist. The only reason why he was the first black to play baseball, professional baseball, is because you wouldn't let other blacks play. In the Negro League, we had blacks that could play. You wouldn't let them in. Jackie was the first one to break through, and now you going to hold him responsible for your racism? And we going to be quiet about that? They announced that they're going to release the files on Martin Luther King's assassination on Monday, the 24th, coming. And I said, well, first of all, the family asked to meet to find out what it is. This is their daddy, Martin III and Bernice, Yolanda's granddaddy. Second of all, are you going to release everything, including if any of law enforcement was involved? Because many of us don't believe one man just shot Dr. King, ex-convict, broke, but have found a way to get all the way through Canada into England. So are you going to release everything, including if there was some Memphis or other law enforcement involved to help them? I'm telling you, this is no time to roll over. Any of you that know or had experience in school with a bully, if a bully sees you running, they coming at you harder. You got to make it real clear that you'll fight back. Remember, they won the election. Yeah, but they didn't win my dignity. They didn't win my self-pride. You won an election. When Trump lost to Biden, they just went back to work. And finally, first time in history, an indicted former president won again. They never stopped. You take one little hump and you throw in the towel. Are we the children of those that face bullets, house bombings, church bombings, and kept coming? That's our kids. That's what our kids learn. And they got to be looking at us saying, well, what's wrong with y'all? If y'all are the children of these people, why ain't that kind of blood running in your veins? well, you know, it's a different time. No, it's a you are scared. If you're scared, say you're scared. And sit down, shut up, and let some of us that are not afraid stand up and do what needs to be done. You're trying to rationalize being treated to a racist, bigoted world. You're scared. Let's take a break. Be right back. Opening up the phones, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Shopton, keeping it real.
Thank you
right
for
back.
joining us for Weekdays
Look at
Live with
this,
Reverend Al Sharpton.
display.
Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton. Be ready for the National Action Network's National Convention, April 2nd through the 5th, 2025, in New York at the Sheraton. This year, and the 57th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. King, they are trying to take back everything he stood and died for. We convene every year in April to make sure they know that they killed the dreamer, not the dream. We have workshops on everything from business development to dealing with our legal needs, from police reform all the way to how we deal with sentencing, how we deal with immigration, how we deal with the arts and entertainment. We have big names that come every year, but don't come for the big names, come for the big plans and the big execution. Register now, because with this year, as we are under assault with DEI, under assault with ending the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, under assault with now consent decrees and all are neutralized. If there ever was a time that you should come to a National Action Network convention, now's the time. We don't need a lot of philosophizing. We don't need a lot of showing how smart you are. We need action. We plan action and then we go and do action. I'm looking for you. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net. We have no registration fee. You don't pay to register. Just get here and let's get it on. National Action Network Convention, April 2nd through the 5th. I'm going to look for you there. That's when Haile Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia, came here, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was pastor here now, that Ethiopian Coptic cross. That was my first hero in civil rights and politics.
As I know here, you're in trouble, where it says about 30% are unemployed. That's why I'm working hard to get this surplus food here. Some of you say to me, well, I'm not like you. I'm not a congressman. I haven't got education. I haven't got work. But you're a human being. And you know what you've got? You've got in your hand the power to use your vote and to use even those few cents you get from welfare to spend them only where you want to spend them.
One of the things that that we're going to deal with is this DEI and deal with how we target a company that has joined the anti-DEI movement. Now, there are other efforts going on, and I support them. I'm not against nobody doing whatever they think is right. But I know how to do a boycott. I'm not talking about, I support what a bishop is doing in Georgia, Reggie Jackson, and my friend and brother Jamal Bryant doing the 40-day don't buy. That's great. Somebody else is doing shutdown on the 28th. That's great. They put my name out there. I know about it, but I'm not against it. But what we must do is we're going to convene at the network convention where we have now a commission that we have started in NAN on King Day, that on 90 days later, which will be in the middle of our convention, we will give the report on a company that has a high level of consumer doubt that comes out of our community and a small margin of profit. We know then that we can take a real impact because he cannot have his margin of profit turn into a loss and sustain itself. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to announce we're going to buy some stock in some of these companies and go to the stockholders meeting. So all of y'all here today, I'm going to buy some shares and we go into the stockholders meeting and stand up in the meeting and say, how do you sell in our community, but you won't give contracts to our people? You won't hire our people. You won't deal with the C-suites. So we're going to have a multi-pronged strategy. Why don't you advertise on Black Media? We're going across the board and we're laying out the plan. And we got people those 4 days. People that are watching that want to come, all you have to do is register www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can call the toll-free number. You can call now. People are at the phones now at 1-877-626-4651.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join Take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
You live, Rev.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let me say by way of announcements, we are really excited about we getting a great lineup of guests this weekend. With all that's going on, make sure you tune in to Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. both Saturday and Sunday. And we have everybody covering all of this, what it means, and what we can do about it. So make sure you watch the show. And you that are in the tri-state area, be at the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice in Harlem, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'll be there looking for you this Saturday. You that are not in the New York area can watch it live on Impact Television, the only black national gospel television station, or you can watch it live at www.National Action Network's live stream or on YouTube/NAN. You have no reason not to be involved. We had thousands watching last Saturday that were not in New York, and many came, packed the place. We getting ready to fight. A lot of people sitting around marinating and expressing how it's bad and doing nothing about it. National Action Network Convention is still got a few seats left, and across the board, go to nationalactionnetwork.net. Is April 2nd through the 3rd, and April 2nd through the 5th. And if you can't do all 4 days, you can do 1 or 2. Register. People are coming from everywhere. As I told you, we have the best and the brightest, everybody from Ben Crump doing our criminal justice panel to Stacey Abrams doing our Which Way America panel, and Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, and Congressman Al Green, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke last night, Congressman Jim Clyburn called, he's coming, Tatiana Ali at our women's luncheon, Patti LaBelle be honored at our main dinner. Make sure you're there. The list grows every day, and you need to be there before we close the list. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can call the toll-free number right now and join on the phone at 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. One of the things that I don't understand, and I'm going to the phones. You know, I was on Morning Joe this morning for an hour, and they were talking about all that Trump was doing and saying in terms of attacking this judge that demanded they bring in evidence on these Venezuelans that they brought out of the country against the judge's charges or against the judge's decision. And what I don't understand is how people are looking at him ending DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is not only black folks, by the way, it's white women, it's gays, it's disabled. But he take down Jackie Robinson, take down Charles Rogers, take down blacks in Arlington Cemetery. That's all, represent diversity. All right, let me ask this then. If you can't refer to nothing with race, then why did y'all have 2 weeks ago a Black History Month celebration at the White House and had Tiger Woods? So you can have some blacks skinning and carrying on at the White House with Tiger, call it Black History Month, but we can't teach black history because that's divisive. I mean, we can't be that stupid. Look and listen to the stuff he's saying and he's doing. Let's go to the phones, 1-877-532-5797. Let's start in Chicago with my dear friend, the beloved Miss Eunice. Miss Eunice, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Rev. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Oh, quite well. Reverend, I'd like to know what happened to Joan Walsh, I think her name was. She wrote a book, What's the Matter with, was it white people?
Yeah, Joan Walsh. Joan Walsh, I remember her.
Yeah, I would recommend that book. I read it already.
Okay.
Yeah. Reverend, the elected officials were sent to Washington to do the bidding for the people, not sitting it out at the behest of Trump. If you're on a private sector job, you would be fired already, and that's a fact. We've got to put pressure on them. They only work so many days anyway. They go back to their district and do nothing. And you see people coming out now that all these proposed cuts are coming out. If they had done the right thing before, we wouldn't be going through all of this. And, this is ridiculous, taking names off of buildings. What about J. Edgar Hoover building? A despicable man. He tried to get Dr. King to commit suicide, from what I read, based on all the lies he was telling.
Yep.
What you think about that?
Absolutely right. And, they announced yesterday that they filed in court in D.C. that they're going to release the files on the assassination of Dr. King from the FBI. And the family had asked that they meet with them in advance so they know what's coming out. This is their father, and they won't meet. So we don't know whether they're going to expose some of the law enforcement that helped the alleged shooter. We don't know what they're coming with. But we do know J. Edgar Hoover was a avowed enemy of Dr. King and tried to destroy him, including someone sent him a note saying, you ought to kill yourself. We're going to expose you.
And one final thing, Rev, they tell us to get our own. They destroyed. We had Black Wall Street.
Right.
Then they bombed the church where the 4 little girls got killed Emmett Till based on a lie, and they murdered Dr. King. So I don't know what they want. Some of these people are despicable. And thank you for taking my call, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
All right. I look forward to hearing from you on Monday. Let me go to Jim in Atlanta, Georgia, WAOK. Jim.
Good afternoon, Real. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm meddling. But look, you remember? You may not remember. I told you that when Donald Trump. I'm sorry.
They about the same.
When he implemented all this hocus pocus about the federal government being wasteful and stuff, what I was saying was he got mad because there was 3 blacks that brought him up on charges, and he was very vengeful and very petty. Another thing I want to say is next time I go to court and the judge finds me guilty, I want to have that judge impeached.
Right. That is the standard he is setting, and you see how far they let you or me get away with that. You right? You're absolutely right. Great point. Let's go to. Go ahead.
because when because when Richard Pryor said, when you go to court looking for justice, that's what you find, just us.
And Richard Pryor wasn't lying. That's what we're seeing now. He sure was on it. All right, thank you for your call. Let me go to, can I get Woody in from Philadelphia, WURD 900 AM?
Yeah, let's get Woody in.
Go ahead, Woody.
Rev, you hitting on the button here, buddy. How you feeling?
I'm doing good.
That's a great thing, man, and I'm thankful for that. And I share a lot of the information here at the barbershop, and the younger people get a chance to hear you, man, and ask questions about you. And they go over and look at the pictures with Jesse Jackson when he came here to get his haircut. I'm not just saying this to say it. The kids get stimulated. I love the fact that you keep promoting and pushing and letting people know that when we talk about the educational structure, the President of the United States is trying to say, hey, push it all to the states. What about the government that said that you're not supposed to teach the slave to read? This is a part of their responsibility, this country called the United States of America. It can't turn its back and push it one direction or another. Wrong is wrong, and we know that that was wrong. What are we going to do about it? And this is what I love about you. I love you continuing to share and educate and keep pushing it so that people will become more educated. Here in Philadelphia, 52% can't read at third grade level, Reverend. I have ideas, and I'm sharing them as much as I possibly can through writings and things like that. But we gotta at least acknowledge that's a large percentage of people in a major city like Philadelphia. 52% can't read at third grade level. That is not something to just turn your head around. What do you think we can do to help make sure that this injustice doesn't continue? Because Dr. King spoke at my junior high school back in 1968, April 4th. He made it clear. Well, 1967, September, he made sure that he made that statement at our school, Barry Junior High School. Now they've changed the name of the school, Reverend. I'm trying to do something about that. We have to educate.
So I got to go. There's the music. I have to go. Yeah. Thank you for your call, Woody. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Shopton, 1-877-532-5797. Be right back.
Who is this 33-year-old creature without a shirt?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
and I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
And, you know, I'm an activist, I do this and that. How could you leave with your son being killed for no just cause? How could you leave when they mocked him, put crowns of thorns on his head? How could you leave? Why wasn't you protesting? Why wasn't you kicking and screaming? Why wasn't you crying? And I signed Reverend Al, and I felt a lot better after I sent the email. But about 3 days later, I got a cosmic email back from Mary. And Mary said, "Dear Reverend Al, down through the years, I've never really answered a lot of questions. But I figured I would answer your question. Yes, it's true that I was at Calvary that morning. Yes, it is true that my son was being crucified unjustly. Yes, it's true that one of the thieves tried to get him to let them be delivered. Yes, it's true his own disciples was hiding and ducking and didn't want to act like they were with him. Yes, it was true. I just had Mary Magdalene, a couple of my girlfriends. And it is also true that he said, 'Woman, behold thy son.'" She said the reason I could leave the crucifixion, because out of all the people I named, I was the only one at Calvary that was in Bethlehem 33 years earlier. 33 years earlier, I had a baby without having known a man. So because I knew how he got here, I knew what was going to happen at the end. Because if you understand his birth, you'd understand his crucifixion was only a prelude to his resurrection. And the reason I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Let me go to my ace Boone Coon in Chicago on the west side. He says it's the best side. Frank, you keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Yes, I am, and all is well. My brother, Reverend Al, my pal, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well.
Brother, the words you opened up was so inspiring. I said, I got to call it at the end of the day. I got to. It's not only the fact that it seemed like we definitely got on the same side of the bed today, which is the right side, but what you said about the cowards and the naysayers and those I like they giving up, done gave up, Reverend Al, that is so true. I heard them two callers came on behind me yesterday. But Reverend Al, you know how we got like our little David, our friend Brother David from Baltimore call in, and these Republicans, you know, they call in with these Republican sound bites from Fox News and all kinds of stuff. Some black too, you know what I'm saying? We people, I hope y'all understood everything Reverend Al said about these naysayers and these quitters, because they also will call in these trolls and try to push back on any idea that we may think. And out there, it's not just on the show, but out there in the world too. And try to dash any idea that we may come up because they too coward to fight. Boy, if I had time, I'd tell y'all about how I got jumped on by 25 little Pee Wee gang members as a joke with a Roland Martin left in variety show. Carter said, sock it to me. But anyway, that'd take too long. But I was the only kid that wouldn't stay down. I kept getting back up swinging. And that the major gang leader made him stop. Like, man, you so-and-so. Did my little son, ain't you? Yeah. He said, boy, you got hard. But anyway, the point is just right here, y'all. Let's not let these quitters douse us. You know what I'm saying? We had this, like I said yesterday. You know what I'm saying? We had to deal with these kind of Negroes in slavery because they too coward to fight. Reverend now point out the right thing. They are doing a whole lot of some of us things because they know we are fighters, okay? So I'm going to last and hop off by saying this right here. Yes, I wasn't referring to them judges down in the southern states like Florida and Tennessee and Alabama. I was not referring to the DOJ, who is in Donald Trump's back pocket. Yes, I hope he do, and he going to keep on. He is going to defy the Supreme Court when he tipped them off. I'm talking about the judges in Washington, D.C. The only judges that he can say we got on his side is the Supreme Court, and he is ticking them off. And I hope he keep on defying them, and they're going to say, we got to rule them in. Yes, they can bring in a special prosecutor because the DOJ is not going to prosecute. And yes, the federal marshals will go arrest them the same way they came and arrest Roger Borovich, a governor here, mayors, other places in Canada. Yes, they can. So don't stop making this man. That's the problem with him now. They even got Donald Trump thinking that he's Superman, that he's untouchable. Just because a few cars, if he was so untouchable, Latrice James never would have won. If he was so untouchable, Alvin Braggs never would have won. Am I right or wrong, Rev? Just certain things was lined up and they don't wiggle up out of it. That's how. But yes, you know, you chose to come on and try to poke holes in our strategy and all you want to. It's not going to work. And I still said our strongest one is the marches, the rallies, the shouting out, not being quiet. And also, we can flip them. They scared to go to their own town hall meeting, Red. And Speaker Mike Johnson would tell them, don't go. So the time is right now. So you chose, y'all bring it on. You're a bunch of quitters, and you're fighting against a bunch of winners. Thank you, Reverend. Now you're on fire, brother.
All right, and let's stay on fire. Let me read some of the comments on our live stream page. Saved and Sound with Kitty Westbrook says, good morning from California. I'm seriously beginning to wonder just how racist California is. It's worse than I thought. I've always thought it was one of the most racist places I've ever been. Interesting. Well, I've been to California a lot of times, and I can tell you, a lot of racism there. Happiness Donut says, we have a very important statewide Supreme Court election in April of 2025 in Wisconsin. Yeah, I'm going to have somebody on about the statewide races in Wisconsin on Politics Nation this weekend because we need to get ready. We just about 10, 12 days from April, and the races are in April as well as our national convention. Let me get another, what is it, Gavisa General. Says, Reverend Al Sharpton, we know in the past Donald Trump was impeached twice and nothing happened. Is it still possible he can be impeached now if those Republicans man up and do what they need to do to get him out of office? Yeah, nothing happened because you got impeachment is like an indictment. You need a conviction. Then he's convicted of what he's impeached for, and they'd have the votes to convict him. If you get enough votes to convict him this time, and you can if we elect a new Congress next year and Senate, then you can convict him. He was convicted in a court of law. So, yeah, you can do something about it. Absolutely you can. And absolutely we should. Let me go to Dallas, to Leon. Leon, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Reverend Al.
Good afternoon.
You're familiar with the character Stephen in the movie Django, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, Clarence Thomas and this guy Sir Michael, whatever his name is, on CNN, and you know, these guys, they're the 2025 equivalent of Stephen and Django, and they're selling us out for their own benefit. And you know, there are a lot of other people who will sell us out, and they'll tell you, you know, you can't do anything about it. But we have more resources than they had in the civil rights era. They can't put fire hoses and all that other stuff on us. That hurdle's already been overcome. So when we do like the ostrich does, when we get frightened, we stick our head in the sand, we expose our rear end, and the foot goes up it.
That's right.
As you mentioned. So that's what we need to be doing. We can't get rid of our heritage like these other ethnic groups, the Jews and the Middle Eastern people. They maintain their heritage, and our heritage is we stand up when we're attacked.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned Martin Luther King. And when I lived in Atlanta in 1999, there was a civil trial trying to investigate what really happened to Martin Luther King.
Right.
And it was discovered that the Memphis Police Department was a part of it.
That's why I want to know, and the family wants to know, are they going to put out everything? What are they putting out?
Right. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, ML King's brother, A.D. King,
right, was drowned.
Had a suspicious death.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They claim he died swimming in his swimming pool, and no, many believe that he was drowned.
Right, because he wouldn't back down.
And Dr. King's mother was shot by a black crazed man in the church playing the organ at Ebenezer.
Right.
Killed at the organ.
So, right. So, you know, we can't, how can I say it? If we don't fight back, things are going to go from bad to worse.
Right.
They're not going to get better. And those who are scared to fight, as you say, they need to get to the back.
That's right.
You said that before.
That's right.
If you're scared, say you're scared.
That's right.
And get to the back.
Get to the back.
And
Don't block us that are not scared from doing what we got to do. Get back. Get way back.
Right. There you go. And stop trying to discourage us from fighting, because if we win, when we win, you're going to want some of what we earn.
Right.
You're going to say, oh, I'm black too. But you weren't out there fighting. You were, when we looked around, you were gone.
Right.
And we held our ground like they do in the military. We held our ground till the reinforcements came. Then we won the battle.
That's right.
And now you want to come out here and say, oh, I was in the fight too. No, you weren't.
No, we know who was in the fight. You're right, Leon, because We know it was in the fight because it wasn't that many, so we know.
Right. And so, one other thing I wanted to mention, you remember when Al Green stood up at the address and talked back to Trump?
Yep.
And he was censured, right?
Right.
Now, the guy that called Obama a liar, was he censured?
No.
Okay. And why did the 10 Democrats vote along with the Republicans?
Not only was the guy that yelled at Obama, I believe it was Wilson, not censored. Marjorie Taylor Greene screamed all the way through Biden's State of the Union address, and she wasn't censored.
That's right. She sure did. But why would the Democrats, any Democrat, vote against their own people when the Republicans don't do that?
Scared, trying to be overly fair.
And losing.
Thank you for your call. Always good to hear your voice, Leon. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. That's when Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, passed to him. That Ethiopian Coptic cross. That was my first hero in civil rights and politics.
As I know here, you're in trouble, where it says about 30% are unemployed. That's why I'm working hard to get this surplus food here. Some of you say to me, well, I'm not like you. I'm not a congressman. I haven't got education. I haven't got work. But you're a human being. And you know what you've got? You've got in your hand the power to use your vote and to use even those few cents you get from welfare to spend them only where you want to spend them.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. The more you grind, the more you realize that people look and behave exactly like the choices they make every day. Whatever your choices are, how you eat, how you exercise, how you handle your temperament, how you handle challenges, whether you're disciplined, all of that is reflected in how you appear and how you behave every day. Your daily choices. That's why no matter where I am and no matter how much I have to do, I stay on my grind, working out, watching my diet, and trying to deal with my temperament because my behavior is a reflection of my choices that I make every day. And I don't worry about people being in opposition. People that oppose you are the ones that believe in your power and your potential more than anything. If they would oppose something that didn't have some force and power with it. So make your daily choices carefully be very loyal and committed to the choices you make. I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talent in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughters started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself. No justice! No justice! No justice! What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom. Let my people go, go. We never shine, never shade. Give me a papa glory, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children.
Be a part of the conversation. Just keep it real. Live from the National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York, keeping it real. And now, America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
All right, Rev, you're live.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Twitter.com, the Rev Al. Let's go back to the phone. Let me go to Zach in Houston, Texas. Zach.
Hey, Reverend Al. Reverend Al, I have a suggestion for sustainability for the economic boycott.
All right.
Regarding, the DEI initiative.
Right.
When these retailers coined the phrase Black Friday, where everybody could shop till you drop to go the day after Thanksgiving.
Right.
I think if we come up with the phrase Black Friday, where every Friday is an economic boycott, with these major retailers like the Target, the Walmart, et cetera, because oftentimes people may not remember the 28th or the 14th if you give them a day. But I think we can maintain a level of consistency if we say Black Friday or every Friday, and we'll send a consistent message. I've already kind of talked to my state legislator, Ron Reynolds. I talked to my church, Brentwood Baptist Church. In terms of administrator, I'm reaching out to fraternities and sororities. But I think if at a national level, if we can get that message out, Black Friday, and also we need to educate people that are low propensity voters or who don't quite understand the dynamics of it, as well as, hey, just because you don't buy on Friday, that don't mean you load up on Thursday, okay, or on Saturday, or what you didn't shop on Friday. That's the only way you can send a powerful message to people with who have these resources. So soliciting support. If we can get that message out, I'm going to put it out on the local level. I'm going to do my fair share. But I think if that can be pushed out, if people would agree to that Black Friday, so every Friday, the Targets, the Walmart, the McDonald's, those type of things, then people don't have to deliver the date. They don't have to remember the dates. And that's how we can maintain some consistency. I was brought up in the era where the boycotts back in the day, and I know they will work, and we don't have the retaliatory measures that in the past, if you went to Miss Susie's store and all of a sudden you didn't show up, then they try to take some other measures against you. So those are my comments. Hopefully you can support that. And even I'd like to see what your thoughts are with regard to that.
Well, I listened very intently, and I think you made some very excellent points. I think that, at the convention a week after next, we're going to unveil with the commission we are studying. It says which companies are vulnerable and call boycott. I like that idea of Black Friday. I do. I'm going to throw that in the hopper and tell them let's consider that as we convene. But we coming out of that convention on the warpath. Believe me. Thank you for your call. Let me Rodney Jones, the mayor, wrote on the comments page on our live stream. He says, I am an Army veteran and I became a couch potato. And being a member of National Action Network and watching Reverend Sharpton transformation, I had to step my game up. I changed my diet and exercise daily. I've lost 20 plus pounds. That's a good thing. And I can tell you, it'll change your life. And the mayor, I call him the mayor of Queensbridge Houses, Mayor Rodney Jones. He has lost weight. I see him every Saturday at the rally, and he is thinning down. He's getting fit for the fight. I'm proud of that. I love that. Thank you. Let's go to Jay in Pennsylvania. Jay, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon. It's been a minute since I talked to you.
Okay.
Just wanted to bring up a couple of things. We had some interesting talks. So when it comes to the Democratic Party, I don't understand the money they get to fundraising, donors, and everything else, why they do not put enough messaging out on TV, social media. You got March Madness. You have all these other sports channels. You see the Republicans do it all the time. I don't understand why they don't get veterans, why they don't get some of these white farmers that lost their jobs and farmers from migrants leaving, and when you have like community centers that are closed down from Trump and all these jobs, why don't they get all walks of life commercials and just run it and run it? Why don't they have towns that are folding in red states? They need to go to the red states, the meat and potato country, and put some of that out. And the other thing I want to bring out was, as far as allyship, I don't see none of these other ethnic groups putting out anything against their own people who turned on the Democratic Party. As far as the Arabs in Michigan, you had a lot of Palestinians, you had Spanish in Florida, which he getting rid of wet foot, dry foot in Cuba. So now they're all gone. So why isn't a big push in Florida by the Cubans and other minorities, Venezuelans who voted for him? He has no loyalty to any ethnic group except white or European people. It's no loyalty. And he tells you what he's going to do, and these people try to other people, and I'm just kind of tired of, black people doing the fight for everybody and get nothing in return. And as a people, we do have to group up and start educating our own people to vote more on our own interests, because it's going to fall on us, because we're going to be the first one that they target too. So I just want to know, what do you feel about those topics?
I feel that the premise of what you're saying is absolutely correct, that we need to figure out all kinds of strategies to fight back. And we need to be able to counter with rapid response the misinformation that Trump puts out there. He puts out a lot. That's why we need to control our own media, tell our own story. I think a lot of what you say makes a lot of sense. Let's go to Lerone in Cleveland, Ohio. Lerone.
Yes, Reverend Al.
Yes.
How you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to speak to you. I've followed you all my life, so you are a great man.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I wanted to speak on when you said about the reading, like the gentleman said, like only 3% of, especially our children can't read. And it made me think of my mother just turned 90 years old. And I can remember her and my father, they from the Deep South. And I can remember her and my father talking about how they were not allowed to read unless it rained in the field. Isn't that a kick?
Unless it rained in the field.
Yeah, that's the only way they were allowed to read. They now I'm talking going deep south, way down there, Mississippi, Alabama.
All right.
And they would talk about them coming up, and just them talking the horrors of what they went through. We wouldn't even dare go through it, but they had to go through it because that's the way it was back then. But what shocked me most is when we can read, we can go to the library, we can go anywhere, rain, sleet, snow, hail. But the only way they could read or any semblance of reading is if it rained and they couldn't work the fields.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. When I think about it, and my father only had a 3rd grade education. My mother had a 9th grade, so they still couldn't, really read like maybe I can read. I mean, that's all I know is read.
Right.
But it just blows me away when I hear a lot of our young people can't read, but you give them that phone and that social media. So I'm like, okay, if you can get on there and read that, you can read a book. And another thing before I get off, I think a reason that maybe our young people isn't so much into, I'm trying to find a way to put it, like, I would just say our rights, that we're losing our rights about somebody that's up there in Washington that is so racist is unbelievable. But I believe when drugs came into our communities, it just distracted so much that, like, what we were taught and what we were shown, it was not shown because they were so stuck on trying to get high.
You're right. You're right. Hold on 1 minute. I want you to finish. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Country, talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If He woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. Yeah. One more time. I want to say And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burning down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then, the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. That has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I say, God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Clay Powell said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time you come home, but just give me some respect when you get there. Now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Sit down. And as we move on in history, let us remember that if we look to God, God has the answer to all of our problems. God is still the same God he was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way if you just keep the faith and refuse to lose. And God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say
That's when Haile Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia, came to hear Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was pastor here at Ethiopian Coptic Cross. That was my first year when civil rights and politics.
Because I know here you're in trouble, where it says about 30% are unemployed. That's why I'm working hard to get this surplus food here. Some of you say to me, well, I'm not like you. I'm not a congressman. I haven't got education. I haven't got work. But you're a human being. And you know what you've got? You've got in your hands the power to use your vote and to use even those few cents you get from welfare to spend them only where you want to spend them.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program. Reverend But Al we need Sharpton, you to be part of and we are the back. I'm joined as I am for the last 90 minutes of the show on Thursdays every week. Our policy wonk. She is the CEO of the Protestant, Protestant Welfare Agencies in New York, and she is the vice chairman of the National Board of National Action Network, Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. How you doing, Jenny?
Doing pretty good. Good to be with you this afternoon and everybody.
Good to be with you. And let me just ask you your overview on this, putting on your legal hat for a minute, your overview on what is transpiring between the judge and the Trump administration around the transporting of the so-called or alleged unproven Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador and incarcerated. And he had given them to noon today to prove what they did was within his order. And as of now, we don't know whether they complied with that or not.
I think it's just the latest round in, the Trump game plan, which is essentially, push and test the waters as much as you can. It is let's see what we can get away with, and let's see how strong are the three branches of government, and whether or not there'll be a stronghold. And so what we've seen, time and time again, is Congress roll over. We saw the Supreme Court of the United States roll over concerning Trump. And so now with all of his actions, his executive orders, his deportation moves, he's just pushing the judges to see, are they really going to push back on him, and are they going to hold? So, the judge now is asking that the Justice Department turn over information about the flights, because this is back and forth about, when did the information come in? Were they in flight? Did they have control? Did they have the ability? And he's given them until noon. I don't yet know whether or not they actually handed anything over. But, we can be certain that Trump is just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing back. A lot of what he likes to do is to get it all the way up to the Supreme Court, because he thinks that he has a better chance at getting what he wants if he gets it all the way up. So if you take a federal judge and you have a stand down with the federal judge, and you go against it, then maybe it makes its way to the Circuit Court of Appeals. Maybe it makes its way all the way up. And so you got the DOJ pushing back, slamming the judge, and you got the judge saying, no, I've got every right to enforce these orders and ask for information. It's just it's yet another example of how the Trump world does what it does, and they see how far they can get.
Now, your view on, there's a lot of controversy over the last few days of Senator Schumer and 9 other Democrats going with the GOP spending bill, saying they wanted to do it to keep the government open because they felt the repercussions would be worse if there was a shutdown, that Elon Musk and Trump would never let the government open back up. They'd hire their own and keep agencies closed that were not to their liking. What is your view on that?
You've heard me say before that we never, those of us who sit outside of the corridors of Congress, we don't know all of the goings on. But I've known, like you, I've known Senator Schumer, and I've known Minority Leader Jeffries for many, many years. And, my take is that Senator Schumer, in his mind, he believed he was doing the right thing. And he was looking at the long game. He was looking at the consequences, that you could take a stand, they'd shut the government down, and then they'd have the ability to do whatever they wanted. Or they could push through something far worse. And so I think he called himself playing the long game. And the fact is, I mean, where I sit, if Schumer and Jeffries had come together and were united to go forward and to sign on to the bill, then many of us wouldn't be having this conversation right now. If they were united to stand down, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We're all the more anxious and concerned because we saw a split in the Democrat Party. But if our two leaders in the Democrat Party both felt that it was in the best interest to go forward for the American people and not run the risk of more cuts to SNAP and the like, then we wouldn't be having this debate right now, this concern. So I think it's more that the Democrats are fractured and less so whether or not Senator Schumer made the right move or Hakeem Jeffries, Minority Leader Jeffries, made the right move.
Lastly, the question of where we are seeing all of the, whether it becomes Department of Defense, whether it becomes Arlington National Cemetery, where they just take down the saluting, heralding of blacks in the military, Jackie Robinson included, Charles Rogers included, who was a decorated Vietnam with the Medal of Honor. Is there any legal way to challenge how they've done this, being that they're saying they are dealing with not having people up because of diversity, but in effect, they are denying the service and life these military people gave?
Well, I think that we could explore whether or not there is a case of discrimination here, that essentially you are denying Black Americans whose ancestors have contributed to the building of this nation, to the essentially the fighting wars on behalf of the nation, that you're denying them their history. And what's interesting is that it's not just some of these people. The word came out a couple of days ago that they had taken Medgar Evers off of the Arlington Cemetery website.
Yeah.
And so one could argue that you have a case here where you are denying people of color, their right to have, to have their history represented, or our history. It's an act of discrimination. This is not diversity. I mean, the other way you could look at it and say that if they say they're scrubbing these websites because of because it defies the order to not have anything tied to diversity, equity, and inclusion in place, y'all weren't thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion when you drafted some of our people to fight these wars. That wasn't on your mind. You saw them as people who you could put out there to fight. And that's not part of our history. That's not part of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
All right, let's do we have time to take a call? Should we go to break?
Let's get one in.
Let's go to Rufus in Georgia, WAOK. Rufus.
Hey, hello, y'all. How y'all doing this afternoon?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. By the grace of God, I was thinking about the vandalism to Mr. Musk on cars and the dealerships, and I remember in 2016, I'm convinced. I'm fully convinced that they have Mr. Musk and Mr. Trump. They got something to do with that. Yeah, I remember in 2016, that very scenario came out of Donald Trump's mouth. He said that people would do things, and they were actually the ones that offering the solution, but they would cause the problem and then they would come around on the back end and offer the solution. And then it also they kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone, because by causing their people to go out and commit these acts of vandalism, they can implement new laws, and then in the other stone, the bird that they kill, is that they commit, they get money from the insurance. So they commit insurance fraud. They, at the same time, gaining sympathy for themselves. I heard Donald Trump say that, and that's a common practice out of the playbook of Putin. He does the same thing in Russia.
Deception, yeah. Deception.
Right. And I don't care what nobody say. They got something to do with that.
All right, thank you for your call. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Back to the phones. Sharpton, Jones Austin. Be right back. On National Action Network.net, no one is deserving more for the community to stop and honor her and celebrate her. The viewing will start Tuesday at the 11th at 7 to 9 p.m. And then Wednesdays, the viewing 9 to 10. The funeral services will be at 10:30 at Mother AME Zion Church.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, "The 2 most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born." I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Back to the phone, Attorney Austin. Let's go to Andre J. in Chicago.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Reverend. Good afternoon to you, Ms. Austin. Mr. Austin, I'm glad you're feeling better because you sound a lot better. So I'm happy for you on that.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
You there,
my
sir?
My question today is that our grandparents, our parents, us, and our kids have paid into this Social Security, and that Social Security money is in a trust which draws interest. Now, I was thinking that if some of our black attorneys could get together and file a suit to go to court to try and file an injunction to keep you from touching it. Now, tell me, my question for you, Ms. Austin, is tell me how does this immunity, this sovereign immunity play into that, and is there any way around this sovereign immunity so that something can be done to stop them from tapping into Social Security?
Now, what do you mean when you say sovereign immunity for who?
Well, it's my understanding, Ms. Austin, that sovereign immunity means that you can't sue the government, but we not, the suit would mean that we're not trying to get nothing from them. We're trying to stop them from doing something, trying to stop them from touching Social Security. So I'm wondering, is there any way around this sovereign immunity if it applies to that? This rule that says that you can't sue the government unless the government gives you permission to sue them, which is crazy. But I want to know if you could elaborate on that a bit to see how we could get around it.
Right. So, governments are sued all the time, all the time. And essentially what happens is the federal and state governments have the ability to waive their sovereign immunity. It's in they can waive it in its entirety, or they can waive it for an aspect, an element of it. And usually what happens is it comes down to, whether or not the person has standing, whether or not, you've got a class action, whether or not it looks like the government engaged in some wrongdoing that, threatens, essentially the Constitution. It's an act against the Constitution. And so there are many different ways that you can look at it. The challenge here that we're all going to have to take a look at is it is not the executive branch that can just get rid of Social Security or can lessen it. These are congressional, they're entitlements that have been legislated and they're mandated and the funding for it. So I don't even know if we'd even have to ultimately get to, first and foremost, whether or not you have to sue, but you also have to remember that the Social Security, let me back up and tell you, the Social Security, the money that we pay into it, in some instances, you're actually getting more than you pay in. In some instances, people are going to get less than they pay in. And so there would be this whole issue about, what are the grounds? What does it look like? Right now, everybody's saying they're not touching Social Security. So I haven't really delved into whether or not you even got to bring a lawsuit at this point. What you have to just keep in mind is that there are the checks and balances where Congress, right now, it doesn't look like they're going to roll over and just be done with that. I don't know it for certain. It's really some more of these, what they call the non-discretionary, the discretionary spending that is more at risk. There's a threat to Social Security to make you anxious, but I don't quite yet know, because if you do that, you're messing with everybody. You're messing with Republicans and Democrats alike. So I really don't know if that's exactly, and I'm just speaking my opinion, if that's where the fight is first and foremost. I think the fight first and foremost is really more on the discretionary dollars, like for things like Medicaid, for things like food supports, for things like cash assistance. That's where the threat is most looming at this particular point, and I don't think we're paying enough attention to that.
Thank you for that. I totally understand, and I think it would create a health crisis if they tap it with it too much. Thank you, Ms. Austin. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Andre. Let's go to Jay in Pennsylvania. Jay? Is Jay there? Let's go to Raj in Cleveland, Ohio. WERE. Raj?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good.
How you doing, Jenny?
I'm doing all right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Rev, somebody had mentioned yesterday that Trump had canceled the Marines event, I guess a concert event with some black students. I saw that he did do that, and that event is based on the Marines. Every year they have an annual event where they recruit these black STEM students for their engineering, the Marines, and so Trump looked at that as DEI. So he got rid of it, So he canceled it this year. But that's,
I think the danger, Raj, and Jenny, you can weigh in on this, is that DEI has become to mean whatever they want to say, because it's ill-defined. First of all, white women and disabled and people of color, Latino, all benefit from DEI. It's not just blacks, but they put it as a black thing, and they can now make it fit wherever they want, including the event you're talking about. And it's ill-defined. One of the things I think the Democrats in the Senate and the House need to do is challenge them on what is the definition of DEI. What does it encompass? What does it not encompass? Now, I do see that some were trying to subpoena Elon Musk to the House to testify, and he's been resisting that. I think they ought to demand he and all the others that are involved in this have to testify under oath.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
yes. Hello?
Yeah. Yes. Hello?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hello?
I hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Hello? Hello?
I hear you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so, on the other hand, he in his first term, he was talking about giving 10 years for anybody who knocked the statues, the Confederate statues in the South. So we know it's just blatant racism. But, I called because you were talking about how these people that's scared they don't want to fight, against oppression. A lot of these younger dudes that vote for that.
Yeah, I think his phone is breaking up. I can't hear him. He fades in and out. All right, let's go on to another caller. Let's see if we can get him straight. Let's go to Anita in Chapel Hill. Anita.
Hi, and hello to Mrs. Austin. I wanted to say, she was talking about they didn't ask about who's coming to the Army. Well, we serve, and then they kill us. They put us in jail and serve, and then, they don't care what happened to us. They make sure our men couldn't work, and then they kill our sons. And really, it was them not taking care of the children that they raped for generations, and that's why African-American men do not get inheritance from that family. So not only did they gyp us out of our rights, they also took our inheritance and lived off of it and wasted all of our money. Now, I'm going to say this real quickly. Elijah Muhammad followed Islamic laws about parenting, and the boys got double the amount of the girls when death comes, because they are considered the providers of families, and the girls are expected to have a husband, and the husband would provide for her.
But that should not be confused with American law. That's Islamic law, right?
What he is saying is the boys after slavery, after not getting inheritance, should have.
No. That's not what I asked you. Because I want the listeners to understand what you're saying. What you're saying is that you said Elijah Muhammad taught this. This was not legal law accepted in the United States military law. Is that correct?
They say all religions, Reverend Al.
All right, let's go to another caller. I asked a straight question twice. Either it's correct or it's not. I don't want listeners feeling that this was the law and somebody changed the law. This was what Elijah Muhammad proposed as law. Is that right?
It's not American law, but Reverend, now they did say you have religious freedom here. You could practice your religion here. and they don't allow that for everyone.
No, I'm not questioning that. What I'm just making clear, because we when Attorney Austin comes up, we deal with legal matters. That we're not saying this was the law.
Right. No, it wasn't.
Okay.
I think it was a better law instead of raping and throwing the kids around and, being with young girls with no education. Elijah Muhammad also was for girls to have an education, too. They wasn't taught just to change diapers, and cook food all day. They was also taught to use their God gifts and talents whichever way they could, but still be a mother and protected in the family with a father, which is something the white man never protected the white woman or her children with. And
Right.
This is why we had a deficit. This is why I'm mad at Trump, because don't pretend like it didn't happen. Okay,
All right.
Reverend Al.
Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Shutdown. Jones Austin. Be right back.
Breaking news. The issues, the stories affecting you. Now here's...
That's your pops in there, right?
Excuse me, we only have small, I believe.
Oh, my guy, can you put the walkers in the bottom for me? All right, he's gonna get yours. Excuse me, sir, were you giving out cards? All right, let's go. Bus one. Yeah, that's all. We gotta go left, right? Bus one. What happened? You talking to me?
Yeah, I thought she said she was in the front seat to the left.
Yeah, this one right here.
That's where she is, and that's the left. Okay, all right.
We need a different we went to Washington. This was the bus. Yeah, because we didn't have much leg room.
My G.
Yeah, right. We're only going to 116th Street.
This is already fast. Hey.
How you doing?
That's nice.
Tie your shirt to the front end for the messaging. Jay.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion in the private sector.
One of the managers. This is I'm retiring in 5 days. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Don't tear up my floor. We not.
They're on your side.
And we were there with you last week.
So, yep.
And you're gonna make piano lessons. Yes, you got a piano lesson.
Legend time.
You gonna show? Yes, sir.
Well, where we meet up?
Hey, D, go to...
Y'all need any assistance? Well, I'm getting some hamburger meat, some eggs, and some chicken. With the help of Al Sharpton.
National Action Network. How you doing? You got any?
All right.
Thank you. Uh-oh, sorry about that. That's a good one.
Are you eating on the job?
Watch your back, sir. Watch your back.
We left everybody at Shutdown. That's when Haile Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia, came to hear Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was pastor here now, at Ethiopian Coptic Cross. That was my first hearing on Civil Rights and Politics.
As I know here, you're in trouble, where it says about 30% are unemployed. That's why I'm working hard to get this surplus food here. Some of you say to me, well, I'm not like you. I'm not a congressman. I haven't got education. I haven't got work. But you're a human being. And you know what you've got? You've got in your hands the power to use your vote and to use even those few cents you get from welfare to spend them only where you want to spend them.
Beyond law, I love you beyond life, and see the ways that God has brought you. Oh, anybody?
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. No justice, no justice, no justice. What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. It's
America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and it is our policy wonk day. Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin is our co-host, and you can call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And don't forget Politics Nation with Al Sharpton every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. I have some of our leaders on this weekend. We really need to go over in depth what this means, the decisions that are being reached and forced upon us by the cuts that in many ways are threatening Social Security, that are threatening Medicaid. And we'll have some of the labor leaders on, other leaders in each field. Both nights, make sure you watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. And then, of course, you're in the tri-state area. Meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice in Harlem every Saturday morning, and I'll be there this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., 145th Street and Lenox Avenue in the village of Harlem. And certainly you that are not in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut vicinity, and New Jersey, you can watch it live on Impact Television, the only national black-owned gospel cable station. And, of course, you can watch it on live stream at www.nationalactionnetwork.net or YouTube/NAN. And then we're excited, really excited, about National Action Network's convention. Starts April 2nd through the 5th, and we have everybody you could think of coming doing workshops. Ben Crump is doing the criminal justice workshop. We have Stacey Abrams coming, talking about the future of the country, where it's going, where it needs to go. Chairman of the Democratic Party, Ken Martin, calling. He's coming. We need to find out what he's laying out for the party and question him. We have our leading ministers. Reverend Ralph West will be doing our ministers' luncheon. Latiana Ali, who is from Prince of Bel-Air, our women's luncheon, will be honoring Patti LaBelle. The list goes on and on and on. And we have about 8 state attorney generals coming in to talk about what they can do on a state level to resist what is going on with the national government. And Jim Clyburn is called. He'll be in, as well as Congressman Al Green, chair of the caucus, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, and the list goes on. All of it free. All of our sessions free. But we tell you to register, because as we have in the last couple of years ran out of space in some of the sessions, we go by the list and have people that are on the list to be the priority of getting into the sessions. Jenny, I'm excited about the convention. What about you?
Well, I'm very excited. I'm excited because this is a moment where we have to demonstrate to each other that we're committed to this fight. And every year the numbers, just grow and grow and grow since COVID. When we started building back, we've just seen the numbers grow more and more and more. And I anticipate that we're going to see even more people this year, because everybody who is paying attention to what's going on is trying to figure out how they can be involved, how they can be engaged. And what we do at the convention every year is give people information. Daddy used to say all the time to us, he'd say, gain knowledge, gain power. He'd say to us that if you have knowledge, if you have information, you have facts, then you can fight the lies, the deceit, the deception. And that's what we do at the convention every year. And this year, more than ever, we need to be gaining knowledge so that we have the power. So I'm really excited. It's been on my calendar since we set the dates, and you just can't touch that time for me. I got to be there. I got to be in the number. And more people tell me they're coming. Got to be there.
All right. Let's go back to the phones. Jenny, you have the call screen there. I've stepped away from the office. Is Jenny there?
I'm right here. Can you hear me? I pulled it up.
Yes.
And we've got line 3. We've got John from Atlanta. Atlanta, WAOK. John, you're on the air.
Very good, very good. Good afternoon to both of you, Reverend Al and Attorney. How are you guys doing today?
Doing fine.
Good, good. A couple of quick questions. Let me go for the attorney first. I'm just curious as to why, and I know that the Republicans had turned down calling Elon in, why he can't be subpoenaed just like, we would, or we did something we were supposed to come to court. They would just subpoena. You don't show up, then they issue a warrant for your arrest. So why that can't be done? Am I missing something here in terms of him? And then quickly, Rev, if I missed a Saturday or Sunday show, how can I watch that? It's on YouTube anyway. That's what I needed to know.
All right, well, I can answer the YouTube question. It's on YouTube, or go to nationalactionnetwork.net to our YouTube channel, and you can get them there.
Great, thanks. Okay.
Go ahead,
And
Jenny.
on that question, yes, Congress can subpoena Elon Musk. The challenge is that the people who are in authority right now in Congress are the Republicans. So they're not going to subpoena him. But Congress can definitely subpoena people, and that's what they've done before. People, when they have not answered the subpoena, sometimes they've been held in contempt. But the problem we've got is that the people who are in power and could issue those subpoenas aren't going to enforce them if Elon Musk doesn't show up.
Would they need, Jenny, just for clarity, would they need a majority of the committee in question to vote in support of the subpoena for the subpoena to be official? Is that the problem, since Republicans took the majority of the House and the Senate?
So I don't know if it's so much that you need a majority, like you need the majority of the committee, yes. You don't necessarily need the majority of the House, but the problem is that since you've got the Senate in control of the House and in control of the Senate, they are, usually they hold rank on they have to hold rank on the committees. So first you'd have to make a motion within the committee to bring the subpoena forward. You'd have to get the chair of the committee to actually entertain the motion. And so you get involved in all of these procedures. And if the people in charge don't want him to be subpoenaed, they can block the subpoena from moving forward.
And see, that is something that is why we were telling people that they had to vote, and enough of us didn't. Voting counts. We can complain all we want now. They are playing a hardball game, but a lot of us helped to support them getting in that position by not voting.
That's right. That's right. They can block. They can move what they want to move, and they can block what they want to block, because they control the committees, and overall they control both houses of the Congress.
All right. Thank you for your call. Go ahead, Jenny.
All right. Let's go to Percy Johnson in Detroit. Percy, you there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. Can you hear me?
You're with Reverend Sharpton. Yep, Reverend Sharpton.
I'm here. We hear you.
Okay. So I got a question. Got two questions for Miss Jennifer. So in what I'm finding too, I'm glad you spoke on the majority power of what the House is so important that we have the majority people that we want to vote our way in the majority power, because all this stuff that Trump is doing, if we had our people in the majority power, we could stop it. We would have had that's in the House, in the Senate, all these crazy people that he appointed to be in his cabinet. If we had the majority, we could have stopped a lot of his cabinet picks. But by them having the majority of the Republicans, which need to be said too, the Republicans are the ones that could really get more control of what Trump is doing, and they just letting him do everything he want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, and that people need, you know, and that's why it's so important. Like what Reverend Al just said, that we got to turn out and vote and put, you know, put the look. Democrats need to be in majority control, because when we got Democrats in majority control, are they doing everything we want? No, but at least they are protecting right now our form of government, and these Republicans right now are stripping our form of government, which is where, you know, so what Shula did, I truly understand, because I'm feeling, and I know, and then I'm going to ask you this too, Ms. Jennifer, if we had a government shutdown, in my understanding, it would have had to work like this. If we had a government shutdown, that the only person that was in position to reopen us would have been Donald Trump. Is Donald Trump. Now, do I have that right?
Yes, he can. Essentially, the president at the end of the day can move to essentially open the government back up. But they'd still have to at a later point in time debate the spending bill.
Yeah, but what I'm
right.
saying, he has. If we would have been shut down, the Democrats, and being a majority power, they wouldn't have had no ability to say, I want to have another vote on this where we can open it up. Trump would be the one that would have been in the power saying, no, I'm not ready to open it up. Or reopen the government, right?
No, that was basically what Schumer was saying, is that Schumer was saying that his fear was that they would not open it back up, and they would open up the parts of government and let it play out the way they want it and hire who they wanted. Now, I think he might not have handled it artfully, because he should have sat with Hakeem, should have called some of us before he did it rather than after. But that was his rationale. Hold on a minute, Percy. We got to take the break. We'll come right back to you after the break. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones Austin. Be right back.
Breaking news. The issues, the stories affecting you. Now here's the news.
Talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say this song. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Get up. God has smiled on me. Then I went on backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. He has set me free. God smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I went home and I told my mother what Brown told me. And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burning down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then, the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. That has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I say, God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Great Power said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time you come home, but just give me some respect when you get there. Lord, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God smiled on me. You've been so good to me. Sit down. And as we move on in history, let us remember that if we look to God, God has the answer to all of our problems. God is still the same God he was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way. If you just keep the faith real, and I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God had smiled on me. He had let me free. Let me sing here. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, Lord.
I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own because they knew that if I flopped...
Jenny Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Go ahead, Jenny, you pick the next callers.
All right. Is Percy still with us, or Percy has moved on?
Still here. I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Percy, did you have a second question?
Yeah. I got another question, but man, I want to brag about one of our NAN members in Detroit for 1 minute, and that's Councilwoman Mary Waters. I want to thank her, man. Look, Reverend, I approached her 2 years ago about making sure to keep the skilled trade task force meeting going, and she's keeping them going strong. We started off this first of the year. We was at the Union Carpenter Training Center. We had a good crowd, and we just had a meeting yesterday at the local 58, the electricians local, and they had a good crowd, and we got the next one set up for next month at the labor's local. You know, and these are union building trade jobs, Reverend Mel. We showing how the 18 and older find out a pathway of how to get into these union trades. We ride around all through the country. We're always watching a lot of these tradesmen doing work, and we don't see us there and our people there. So we got a way where we're making sure that our people get an opportunity to get into them kind of jobs. And Mary Waters, I just want to give a shout out to her, one of our NAN members, that she's doing a good job. And when y'all see people like that on the ballot to vote, then the kind of people you need to put in office that's working.
That's
in
right.
the community.
That's true.
You know,
good member.
They doing the work. But look, the other question,
Jenny, I'm going to step off to do this commercial. And I'll be right. I'll be back. You can take it out, and I'll be back. But go ahead, Percy.
Yeah, Jennifer. So here's my question and my concern, because I'm thinking if we would have had that governor shutdown, and just like the way that we are being able to have some of these judges to rule against some of these things that Donald Trump is trying to do with executive power that seem like they're against the law, would those judges been out of would they have been open? Would that also shut down the court system?
No. So what happens with the government shutdown is that they call them like they're what you call essential persons, essential roles. And what happens during a government shutdown for the most part is that the courts remain open, but you have slower cases, you have delayed cases, you have like they may suspend certain functions, but it doesn't mean that the courts stop overall. Not at all. And the other thing just to note is that the president does have control to end the government shutdown, but he's still got to get a bill from the Congress, from the Senate and the House that is passed by both houses that sets what the spending shall be. So essentially what happens during government shutdown is that some basic functions are not performed, essential functions are performed, and that the problem sometimes you have is that the executive gets to determine what's essential and what's not. But some basic functions are shut down. Not all functions are shut down. And then the Congress has to come back together. They've got to put forth a new spending bill, and then they pass it. And then ultimately the president gets to say on whether or not the president is going to approve and sign the new spending bill. But the judges, for the most part, would still be in place.
But now you saying, okay, the justice system would, the courtrooms would be open. But now you saying, I'm also hearing you saying that the Congress would have to come back.
And what I mean by it is that they got to come together. So when you have a government shutdown, essentially what's happening is you have there's nothing in place that controls how the money continues to get spent. So spending bills are in place for a time certain. It's kind of like you got a budget for a period of time. And then when that period of time expires, there's no law in place that's saying how the government gets to spend its money. And so Congress has to decide whether or not they're going to continue spending the way that they have spent, or they're going to put forth a new spending plan and approve that. What can happen is that you don't have both sides agreeing, and then the president if both sides don't pass and there's no agreement and the president doesn't sign anything, we have a government shutdown. To get the government back up and running, they still have to come forward with a new bill, a new spending plan, and you've got to have them agree to pass it, and then the president signs off on it.
Okay.
You don't get around the president.
Yeah, you don't get around the president, and it seems like it's giving him more control of when to start back up.
Right, which is why, to your point, as you said, you can see why Senator Schumer may have said, no, I don't want to give him that power. Right. I don't want to give him the ability to keep playing games. I don't want to do it.
Because bottom line,
look, and you heard me. I maintain that had they come together, you wouldn't have all this friction and tension, meaning Jeffries and Schumer.
Yeah, they should have came together sooner, no doubt. But but see, here's the other part to that. So Trump and the Republican majority power, they right in line with what Putin wants. And I feel like if we'd have shut this thing down, Putin would have been telling them, y'all delay that as long as you can, and they would have fell in line and did it.
Quite possible. I appreciate what you're saying, Percy, and, we see how things play out with Putin all the time and Trump. I'm going to have to run because Rev's got a few more calls. I hear the music, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. We'll be back in just a few minutes, and we're going to take your calls.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000,
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find
scandalous and derogatory things about. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton. Be ready for the National Action Network's National Convention, April 2nd through the 5th, 2025, in New York at the Sheraton. This year, and the 57th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. King, They're trying to take back everything he stood and died for. We convene every year in April to make sure they know that they killed the dreamer, not the dream. We have workshops on everything from business development to dealing with our legal needs, from police reform all the way to how we deal with sentencing, how we deal with immigration, how we deal with the arts and entertainment. We have big names that come every year, but don't come for the big names, come for the big plans and the big execution. Register now, because with this year, as we are under assault with DEI, under assault with ending the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, under assault with now consent decrees and all the neutralized. If there ever was a time that you should come to a National Action Network convention, now's the time. We don't need a lot of philosophizing. We don't need a lot of showing how smart you are. We need action. We plan action and then we go and do action. I'm looking for you. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net. We have no registration fee. You don't pay to register. Just get here and let's get it on. National Action Network Convention, April 2nd through the 5th. I'm going to look for you there.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
We need you to go to nationalactionnetwork.net to register so that we can make sure we have a seat for you. It's free, but you need to register. So let's head back to the phones. We've got a few callers. We want to get them all in before we wrap up this segment in today's show. I'm going to go to Todd from Cleveland, WERE. How you doing, Todd?
Hey, Jennifer. I'm in a perpetual state of struggle.
How you doing?
I'm in a perpetual state of struggle, but that's not what I called about. So I have a question. Back to what we talked about last week in reference to the Department of Education being of value, the federal Department of Education, and the states should be given the opportunity to make their own decisions as to what degree they want a federal Department of Education and the conditions that it be in existence. Isn't that something that can be implemented, that the states make that decision as a group, and then those that may not want to participate do not necessarily have to do so?
See, I hear what you're saying. I think that what we have to keep in mind is states already have the majority of control when it comes to education. The states decide their curriculum. They decide how much funding is going to go to every child. They determine, how much of a local county's property taxes can be used to essentially supplement that per pupil allocation. The states have that control already. The reason that the federal government, Department of Education, was created was because we saw disparities in education, and especially for children of color. We saw disparities in education for children with disabilities. And so the purpose in having the Department of Education in the main was to ensure quality education for all, similar to the Voting Rights Act. States can decide voting rights, but they can't be any less than what the federal government was providing. That's the same reason why we have the Federal Department of Education. And my concern with that side, I hear what you're saying, is that when we still today have highly segregated schools, across the country, when we still have education funding disparity, where $23 billion less is going to highly segregated black schools across the country, if we don't have the federal government in there, they need to be doing a better job. But if the federal government is not in there to at least have some enforcement, some regulations in place, then when it comes to children of color, when it comes to children with learning disabilities as well as physical disabilities, a lot of these children are going to be farther left behind. And the Trump administration understands that, which is why they're trying to get rid of the Department of Education. So it's not as simple as, well, states get to opt in, because you're going to have many states who don't care about quality education for all opting out. That's my take on that, and that's why I'm concerned if they get rid of it, what that means.
So you're confident that if it was left up to the states to say the Department of Education, federal level, must stay in place, that it may not happen? Is that where you're at with it?
I'm right there with that, because just to think about it this way, with the Affordable Care Act, when states got to opt out of expansion of Medicaid, expansion of Medicare, certain provisions of subsidies, many states decided not to, Texas being one of them. Texas said they weren't going to take $100 billion in Medicaid for their their lowest income people who were eligible for Medicaid. It's the way it goes. When states have the ability to opt out, if they don't like what the federal government's doing or what the federal government is telling them to do, or they just don't want to engage, then they don't. That's the problem.
That's my concern. I'm not sure it will work like that with the Department of Education, but I am looking at the clock. I could come back to you about this. I want to
let's keep going with it.
All right, I'll come back
Thank you.
to it.
Appreciate you, Todd. All right, let's go to Chris in Brooklyn. Hello, Chris.
Good afternoon. How are
you?
I like to say something about Jasmine Crockett. We got to stand behind this sister. She's strong, she's intelligent. And the Republican Party are going nuts over her. We got to stand behind her. I see leadership quality. Not only that, our history is our history, not American history. Because if it was American history, they wouldn't try to take it out of school or destroy it. We got to unify. All that stuff we want, we got to unify. Have a good day.
I think you're right, Chris. We have to stand together. And, if history is any indication of such, when we're divided and they see an opportunity to separate us and to cause more harm, that's exactly what they do. I'm right there with you, Chris. Let's go to Lynn from Detroit. Good afternoon, Lynn.
Yes, hello, Attorney Austin. Thank you for taking my call. I want to call about Chuck Schumer and his decision. From what I understand from listening to Nancy Pelosi and some of the other Democrats in the House, there was a third option on the table, and that is to open your mouth and ask for a 30-day extension. Now, there's no guarantee that the Republicans would give that. From my understanding, it's still up to them. But at least you put something on the table in front of them and said, this is what we want to do. And then when they turn it down, then it's on them. But at least you've put up some sort of opposition that says, I don't agree with this current continuing resolution. What Chuck Schumer and the rest of the Democrats that went along with this bill, really what they did is said, I agree with what you're doing because I'm not going to put up any opposition. I'm not even going to ask for anything else for you to say no. And closed mouths don't get fed. And that's why so many people have lost confidence in the Democratic Party. What do you think of that?
Here's the deal. I appreciate exactly what you're saying. And the challenge that I have, and I say this with all due respect, the challenge that I have here is that it's one of those situations where you've got people sitting down there in Washington, D.C. They're looking at, what could go wrong, what might go wrong. They're looking at the players. They're looking at the politics. They're looking at the dirty-handedness. They're looking at, just all the different moving parts. And so they're making decisions in the moment, And I think that what Senator Schumer thought he was saying is that rather than give Trump another opportunity to go even deeper, make even more drastic cuts, an opportunity for him to say, well, I'm now in even greater control, and I can play the clock out and leave you all feeling vulnerable and all the more compromised. Sometimes when you play the clock out, then people start showing their hands and start showing how vulnerable they are. Then maybe what Schumer was saying was, I don't want to even give them that. I get what you're saying. All I'm saying to you is that we're all playing, and I'm going to say this with all due respect, we're all playing a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking right here. And, what we do know is that a government shutdown would have been disastrous, especially for the people who weren't getting paid. A government shutdown could have been disastrous because they could have actually then imposed more and more cuts. And at the same time, we know that what we've gotten is also problematic. The bill that came out is also hugely problematic. So I think that, what Schumer found himself in was a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. What I don't want you to hear is that I'm defending what he's done. But I think, you could have had another 30 days, and one might have said, would you have been even better off then? The challenge that we've got overall, and I so much appreciate what you're raising, Lynn, is that we're now at a point where we don't feel like we've got people fighting for us, right? One way or the other. Okay. And we feel like we don't trust the decisions that are being made because we're all so vulnerable. So that's what I'm hearing, and I could not agree more with you. What I can't say is one way or the other what would have been the better option. It's kind of like only time is going to tell. You understand? I'm not trying to play, like kind of punt it. We just don't know. I appreciate your call, Lynn. I think we're going to try to get in one more call. I see Ruth. Is Ruth here?
Yes, good afternoon. This is Ruth, and good afternoon to the guest. I would like to say this succinctly. I'm 84 years old. I've been around a long time, and the young man that called, I'm going to say this quickly about education. Yes, you need the federal government. I taught school for years, and you need the federal government to assure that you're going to get a quality education. Now, that's another story. I'll give one example. I did have an opportunity to teach the multiple handicap. You didn't have that initially when I first started teaching. What about the lunch programs for the children who can't pay for lunch? So I don't know what he's talking about. The local government is not going to do anything themselves but so much. So aside from that, this is what I wanted to address. I've been in politics talking about it. My parents were educated all of my life. What we are dealing with succinctly is racism. Until black people understand that racism governs everything in this country, I don't care what's the opening government, closing government, Donald Trump sent a mandate with the day he put on the hat and said, make America great again. He said, make America white again. It's not about eggs. It's not about economics. These white people know that. I've talked to enough. I said, don't come with that with me. It's about race. It was too many black people succeeding, getting ahead in education. You need education and knowledge. We don't have it, and unification. Until we get knowledge is power and understanding what knowledge will do, we'll always say, well, I voted for Donald Trump because he's a strong man. Donald Trump doesn't care for his own people if you don't have any money. So a black person has to be an idiot to vote for your slave master because that's what he is. And I'm saying that. So I'm putting it succinctly until we unify and stop hating each other and stop being jealous of each other and start reading and understanding our culture.
The music's coming, so I'm going to have to say goodbye to you, but I appreciate all that you said. We all appreciate it. Want to thank everybody for tuning in to Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. He's going to be back tomorrow, so make sure you tune in tomorrow afternoon for more of Reverend Al Sharpton. And I want to thank Fatim Muhammad, our executive producer. Until tomorrow, keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real with Al Sharpton. All the time.